A common question in Victoria 3 is how the heck to run the economy without trashing it by the end of the game. Let's take a look at what's needed to make sure your economy doesn't tank by the time you get to 1900. To do that, I'm recommending two mods. One is nBuild's revision of AI, which changes the way the AI produces things. The other is improved automation, which changes the way the AI chooses how to build things in the state. Another map-changing mod that I use that you'll see here is the historical flavor expansion. That doesn't impact this game, but it's just one that I'm using, so if it looks a little different from your map, this is why. The keys to a good economy are not building as much as you can as fast as you can, but in building the right things in the right places and importing what you can't create yourself. Playing as Germany here, let's take a look at the market. Sorted alphabetically, I don't get a lot of good information. Sorted by market price, I see where I've got needs in my economy. Coffee, luxury clothes, and tea are all important. They're high priced because my populations are demanding them and they want them brought in. But small arms is where I have an input goods shortage. I've got to do something about that. To deal with the arms shortage, I could build more factories, but how many should I build? Well, let's total up how many we've got so far. Adding these up, I've got 36 factories in total. Looking at how much I produce, 229, and how much I need, 492, it looks like I need to double small arms production. Looking at what the small arms require in terms of tools, steel, and hardwood, I'm going to also have to make sure I've got enough of those goods to supply the arms industries. I do have a surplus of tools, a surplus of steel, and some surplus of hardwood. So maybe what I need to do is expand my lumber industry, and then I should be good to go on my imports for the arms industry. But building the arms industry is going to be a longer-term solution. I've got to have these weapons now. I can get the ones I need through trade deals, hopefully. Clicking on the good in question, I can go to import routes, sort by productivity, and I can see I can import quite a few small arms for the short run, and provided I don't go to war with any of these guys, I should be able to be good to go until I get all of my arms industries online. So let's make these trade deals happen. I'll do some clicking, and don't really care what order I go in. There we go. I've got a lot of imports. Let's see how my current situation says. I've just got explosives as my expensive goods, and small arms are still expensive, but there's no longer a critical shortage of them. As we can see here, the little red box is no longer on small arms. We're bringing in enough to supply what we need in our industry and population. How does that impact our trade routes? Well, looking at available convoys and required convoys, which is also information that comes up when I hover over one of the nodes in the ocean, I can see that I'm good on convoys now, but if I import more goods, I'm probably going to need more ports. Given that I've got a few more things to import, like explosives, and a lot more clothing that my country could use, before we expand the local arms industry, maybe we need to expand our convoy situation. For convoys, we need to build out our ports. With the 14 ports I have, I've got 2,800 convoys, so that's 200 convoys per port. I'm going to be importing a lot more stuff like clothing, so maybe an overall increase in the number of ports globally is going to be good. If I increase the port level at each one of these, I'll have 11 more ports. Yeah, let's do that. I'm not worried about the earnings, because those are a cost I need in order to make an investment in the trade markets. And the more trade I have, the more likely I am to bring in cheaper foreign goods to help out my domestic economy. I held down Alt when I clicked on them, so that way they went to the top of the queue. I'd like to get these things knocked out ASAP because I'm going to do some more importing. The other area I need to keep my eye on when I do importing is my bureaucracy. I recently ramped up my bureaucracy in order to do the Suez Canal build without having a hit on my tax income. And now that we finished surveying the Suez Canal and I'm building it, I've got this excess slush of bureaucracy points that I can use towards trade. But if this number gets smaller, I'm going to have to build additional bureaucracy elsewhere. But for now, I'm good. Let's start importing. We'll start with coffee. So looking at coffee, we need 41 more. Going with our import routes, it looks like our New Grenadine market will give us everything we need. And we stand to make some money after our tariffs. We can see that the price of coffee will drop in our market, it'll go up in New Granada, and we need 51 convoys for this, and it costs 15 bureaucracy. Sounds good, let's take it. Having done that, let's check a look and see how that makes our coffee situation different. Well, it looks like we only got 10 to start with. so about 3 more orders ought to do the trick. Having made those orders, now we are bringing in 80 coffees and we only demand 81. That brings the price way down. Rather than deal with the luxury clothes, tea, and explosive situation, I'd like to take a whack at the clothing. We need a lot of it, and that's something that'll help improve the standard of living for our lowest income populations. Oh, not a lot we can import, so it looks like we need to really up the production of clothing in our economy. Yeah, after doing the profitable imports, we're still way behind. We need a lot more clothing factories and fast. I'll focus on explosives next because I am Germany and I gotta keep my army going, but they're also used in construction. If we're gonna do a lot of construction, we're gonna need more explosives, so let's buy some. Ooh, there's nobody selling explosives at a profit for us. So now we have to decide, where do we want to prioritize, clothing or explosives? Dye is another area we've got to work on. We can't make synthetic dye. I've already traded for all the dye I can get. Now I'm looking at more colonial acquisition of dye producing areas to get them into my market and not let them be in someone else's. Going to the dye area, let's take a look and see where the potentials are on the map. And we see a lot in Africa and a lot in India. We also see some in Persia, this could come in handy, as well as this corner of India, which isn't claimed right now by anyone. Well, I'm building the Suez Canal for a reason. It's so I can access those Asian markets. I've already picked up Yemen here to help secure the route. Let's finish the job and dominate the Persian Gulf region. Looks like we can also get our tea fix here. And when our army starts demanding opium for all those medical needs, this is a region that will produce it as well. Now, I expect a clash with the East India Company as a result of this, so I've got to make sure that my 56 flotillas are enough. East India Company has got 74 of them, plus potential allies in this play, so I'm going to really have to build out my navy if I want to compete in the Persian Gulf. So all those ports I built earlier for the convoys, those are nice. The auto-build items that the computer has selected are also well in need, but I'm going to have to top up my naval bases, particularly those in the region, and then utilize them to project my power against the East India Company if and when they interfere with my play for Sind, Balochistan, and Persia. Back to these auto builds, if you recall the mods that I showed earlier, they help guide the AI in selecting where things can be built best. I have mine set to queue things with 100 weeks or less of build time in the queue, and if the new build will be profitable, the AI will build it. This also extends to other areas, so my puppets, allies, and trading partners will also respond to market conditions in making their build choices. Having said that, I prefer direct control of these regions, so I can build them out the way I like them. That, in essence, is colonialism. Another thing I'd like to do is have a better connection to my investment here in the Suez Canal. Having to go around my rivals' bases in Gibraltar and Malta makes me unhappy. I am rivaled with Austria, so plowing through and getting a little port on the Adriatic would look nice. And if England ever does go to war with me again, demanding bases that they once owned would be a nice addition to my collection. If I can't get those, picking up Tunis, Tripoli, or Crete, or Cyprus would be good for projecting my power in that region directly. Given that I've got some time left to build the Suez Canal, I'll wait until it's ready before I start launching additional plays in that region, and that may give me more time I need to build more of those arms factories. Remember the arms factories? Yeah, I'm going to build more of those, and clothing factories as well. But by building only what I need when I need it, I'm able to guarantee that my market is not overwhelmed with a lot of excessive industry in areas that I don't need. Build out your factories a little at a time, and be patient with how long it takes to build them, and in the long run, you'll have a stable, steady economy all through the game. By the way, one more note, when you can get to proportional taxation, take it. That's the most profitable form of taxation in the game. It's not the fairest taxation, but it's the most profitable. And when you get to those expensive armies and navies and government programs that are coming up later in the game, that's the tax base you're going to want.